The moment you stop trying to be their everything is the moment they realize you were something they could never replace. They told you caring makes you real. That chasing proves love. That silence is weakness and detachment is cold. But what if I told you, the second you stop acting like they matter more than they actually do, they start losing their mind, trying to matter to you again? See, most people don't value you. They value your attention, the energy you give them, the way you light up when they show up. The moment you dim that light, they panic. And not because they love you, my friends, because they lost their power over you. Before we go any deeper, press that like button and hit subscribe if you're ready to flip the script. And while you're at it, comment below, "My silence speaks volumes." Because what we're about to get into, it's not just a mindset, it's a reset. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a blazing fire, warm, inviting, magnetic. And for months, someone's been standing by your flame, basking in it, never bringing wood, never adding fuel, just taking your heat. Then one day, you stop burning for them. You don't yell, you don't beg, you just go quiet, cold, still, and suddenly, they're freezing. That's what this is about. Not revenge, not manipulation, just the simple truth. You don't chase what's already walking away. You turn inward and you rise. Most people aren't in love with you. They're in love with how you react to them. Your smiles, your texts, your check-ins. They build their identity off your attention like mirrors that can't shine unless someone's standing in front of them. So when you step back, when you go still, it's like pulling oxygen from their lungs. Their world starts spinning, not because you were dramatic, but because your absence became the loudest sound they ever heard. You ever seen someone try to solve a puzzle, but you're the piece that went missing? That's what happens when you act like they don't matter. Not with malice, not with rage, just clarity, just calm. Because when you truly detach, not pretend, but actually stop needing them to see you, you become something they can't predict. And nothing haunts a person's ego more than not being able to read you anymore. Here's the truth, my friends. You were taught that being emotionally available means being endlessly accessible. That love means being on call. That silence is petty. Nah, that's the lie. Real emotional power isn't in proving a point. It's in no longer needing to. Real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't beg. It doesn't announce itself with desperation. It walks out of the room and lets the absence speak. Like the old Stoic quote says, "He who angers you controls you." But the flip side, he who no longer reacts controls everything. That's you now. You're not out here explaining. You're evolving. You're not seeking revenge. You're reclaiming peace. You're not chasing people who made you an option. You're becoming the one thing they can't stop thinking about, the one who stopped chasing. So this is your reminder. It's not your job to convince anyone of your value. It's your job to remember it when they forget. You pull back. You go quiet. Not to play games, but to end the performance. The show's over. You're rewriting the script. And when you do that, they will feel it. In their thoughts, in their scrolling, in the silence that echoes where your attention used to be. Because the truth is simple, folks. When you act like they don't matter, not out of ego, but out of self-respect, they lose the one thing they never thought they'd lose: your energy. So stay with me, because what's coming next will shake your soul and sharpen your focus. You're not becoming colder, you're becoming clearer. And if you're ready for that clarity, drop this in the comments: "I choose peace." Press that like button. Subscribe for more. Let's move different. Let's rise higher. Be untouchable. Number 1. The illusion of importance. Some people don't miss you. They miss the power they had when they knew you still cared. Let that sink in. You weren't loved. You were useful. You weren't valued. you were accessible. And when someone builds their confidence off the certainty that you'll always be there, always check in, always respond, you become less of a person and more of a utility, a backup generator for their ego. But the second you stop playing that role, the entire illusion starts to crumble. Imagine this: a performer standing on stage, basking in applause, but they don't realize that the spotlight isn't automatic, it's controlled from behind the curtain. That's you. You've been the light. You've been the warmth. And they assumed you'd never step away. They assumed your presence was permanent, like a sun that rises whether it's appreciated or not. But what happens when the spotlight goes dark? The performer panics, not because they miss the stage, but because they realize they never learned to shine on their own. And right now, you might be feeling torn. Should I reach out? Should I explain myself? Should I prove I still care, just to be the bigger person? But let me ask you, why is the burden of proof always on you? Why do you feel like you're the one who has to chase, fix, explain, overextend? Who gave them that position of importance in your mind? And better yet, why haven't you taken it back yet? Here's the trap. We're conditioned to think that detachment is cruelty, that if we care, we must constantly show it, prove it, express it. But my friends, that's not love. That's performance. Real love, real presence. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need a response. It just is. And once you start withdrawing your energy, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, you start to see who was really with you and who was just with your attention. They'll say, "You've changed," and you have. You've changed the rules. You've realized that constantly showing someone they matter doesn't make them love you more. It makes them value you less. And now that you've pulled back, now that you're not validating them like you used to, they're not calm anymore. They're irritated, confused, curious. You've shifted from predictable to mysterious. And people don't panic over people they don't care about. They panic over losing control. You want to know why this is hard? Because the version of you that was always available is still fighting to be seen. That inner voice that says, maybe if I just reach out one more time, they'll see my heart. That version of you needs closure, needs answers, needs to be understood. But let me tell you the truth. They understood what they were doing. They just didn't think you'd ever walk away from it. And now you're walking, quietly, strongly, not with anger, not with tears, but with silence that shakes their world far more than any confrontation ever could. There's a quote that says, "When you stop reacting, they start reflecting." And it's real. Your stillness becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, they don't just see your silence, they see their own behavior. Their ego can't hide anymore. The games, the manipulations, the cold replies, they echo louder now because there's nothing distracting them from it. No more comfort in knowing you'll text back. No more safety in thinking you'll always be the one to fix it. This isn't just about love. This is about power. Not power over them, but power over yourself. The power to sit with discomfort, the power to not fill the silence, the power to not respond to the bait. That's the highest form of strength there is. Because it's not about playing cold. It's about no longer needing their warmth to feel whole. So if you're feeling the ache, the temptation to break the silence, ask yourself, what exactly are you trying to win back? Someone who made you feel like an option? Someone who got used to the sound of your footsteps chasing after them? No, you're not chasing anymore. You're choosing peace, choosing dignity, choosing to no longer audition for a part you already mastered. You don't need them to recognize your worth. You need to re-recognize it yourself. And when you do, that's when everything changes. That's when the tables flip without warning. That's when they start feeling the space you used to fill. Because now it's empty. And nothing haunts a person more than the silence of someone they thought would never go quiet. You're not ghosting them, you're glowing past them, you're not hiding, you're healing. And yes, it's hard. But the man or woman you're becoming doesn't depend on being noticed. They depend on being whole. So if this message is hitting your soul today, if it feels like I just reached into your chest and turned on a light, then you already know what you need to do next. Not for them, for you. Take a breath, own your energy, and type it in the comments now. I reclaim my power. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. Let them feel it without you ever saying a word. Because we're just getting started. The illusion is crumbling. And what's coming next? It's not just transformation. It's liberation. Stay with me. Number 2, the psychology of withdrawal. It's not your absence that breaks them. It's the fact that they never thought you'd have the strength to leave without a word. You see, people don't fear losing you. They fear losing the version of you that never hesitated to give, the one who replied instantly, who showed up even when they didn't deserve it, who stayed even while breaking. That version of you, they counted on it, took it for granted, played their little games thinking you'd never be the one to end it. And then you did. Not with drama, not with one last emotional plea, but with silence. And that silence, it didn't echo, it roared. You want to understand what's really happening when you pull back. It's not just them missing your voice or your presence. It's them experiencing withdrawal, psychological withdrawal, just like a drug. Because you were a consistent dose of validation, of being seen, of emotional supply. And when that goes dark, their brain scrambles for answers. Like a junkie without a fix, they check their phone, scroll their DMs, reread your old messages, hoping for a sign you're still orbiting them. But you're not. You're grounded now, anchored, and that, my friend, drives them insane. Most people never had real feelings for you. Harsh, I know. But what they had was a feeling about themselves when you cared. When you praised them, defended them, gave them time and presence. Your love made them feel important. Their ego got fat off your attention. So now that it's gone, they don't just miss you. They miss the version of themselves they got to be when you loved them. And that's the real void they feel. That's why the psychology of withdrawal is so powerful. You're not punishing them. You're just gone. And in that space, the mirror shows them something they never wanted to face. They needed you more than they admitted. Now maybe you're feeling that pull too, that urge to check in, that ache in your chest that whispers, what if they moved on? What if they're not thinking about me at all? That's fear talking. Fear hates silence. Because silence doesn't give answers. It forces us to create our own. And when you don't know where someone stands, your brain fills in the blanks with doubt, with fantasy, with desperation. That's what's happening to them now. Your stillness is making noise in their mind. They thought you were emotionally dependent, that you needed closure, validation, attention. But now you're not texting, you're not watching their stories, you're not reacting to their bait. You're gone. And that mystery, it burns deeper than any insult ever could. There's a psychological term called object permanence. Babies cry when a parent leaves the room because they think the parent no longer exists. That's how most emotionally immature people operate in relationships. If you're not visible, you're gone. But when you pull away and stay silent, something wild happens. They realize you're still there, just not accessible. And that contradiction messes with their mind. Why isn't he reaching out? Did I go too far? Has they replaced me? What's going on? They spiral, because what they used to control no longer reacts. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about hurting them. It's about healing you, about breaking that dependency on reaction. One explanation: on being understood. You've been carrying the emotional weight for too long. And this space you're creating, it's not empty, it's sacred. It's where your power recalibrates. You might be tempted to post something to get their attention, a gym selfie, a subtle story, a quote with just enough pain to provoke. Don't. That's not strength, that's bait. and bait reveals you're still in the game. Real detachment leaves no breadcrumbs. Real power is disappearing without performance. Let them wonder. Let them feel the absence with no roadmap back. You're not doing this to manipulate. You're doing it because you finally realized that anyone who truly valued you wouldn't need to be shocked into awareness. They would have shown up before you had to vanish. They would have fought for you instead of waiting for you to fight for them. And here's the kicker. If they ever come back, it won't be because you begged. It'll be because you disappeared, because you removed their emotional safety net. And they suddenly realized the ground beneath them wasn't stable without you. So let this be your mantra. My silence is my strength. Type it in the comments right now. Show yourself. Show the world. Because you're not weak for feeling. You're strong for stepping away, for giving space, for mastering the art of not responding. Stay with me, because what's coming next, we're going even deeper. Into the quiet power of cutting the emotional supply, into the next level of stoic clarity, into the version of you they'll never be able to forget, because they never saw you become it. Number 3. Attention is currency, and you cut the flow. They don't miss you. They miss the attention that made them feel like a god. Let's be brutally honest, my friends. Your attention was their oxygen. Your presence, your reactions, your availability. It made them feel alive. It made them feel chosen, special, worshipped. You weren't just a person in their life. You were their personal spotlight. And they got comfortable in your glow, didn't they? But the moment you dim that light, the moment you stop pouring into them with compliments, check-ins, forgiveness, and all that overcompensating, you don't just walk away. You bankrupt their ego. Attention is currency, and whether they admit it or not, you were paying them every day. Every time you answered their half-hearted texts, you were making a deposit. Every time you forgave their indifference, you were swiping your emotional card. Every time you waited around for their scraps of effort, you were funding their inflated sense of self. But now, you've shut off the faucet, the account's frozen, the supply chain has collapsed. And just like that, they're broke. And they're mad about it. Because here's the thing, they didn't want you. They wanted the feeling they got when you wanted them. Big difference. And when you cut off that emotional paycheck, they go into shock. Suddenly, they're refreshing their feed, wondering why you're not liking their stories anymore. Suddenly, that good morning text they ignored for weeks isn't there. And it hurts. Not because they love you, but because you stopped paying attention to them, and now their ego has to survive on its own. Now let's talk about you. Let's talk about how hard it is to stop giving, especially when you're the type who loves deeply, shows up consistently, and forgives too easily. You were trained by movies, songs, maybe even your own childhood, to believe that if you just love harder, wait longer, sacrifice more, they'll finally appreciate you. But that's a lie. That's the trap. The more you pay someone who doesn't value the currency, the more they waste it. They didn't stop texting back because you weren't valuable. They stopped because they knew you'd keep trying regardless. And effort without boundaries becomes permission. So when you finally said no more, even in silence, it wasn't just a boundary, it was a revolution. Right now, they might be pretending not to notice. Oh, they'll act unfazed. They'll post like they're living their best life. But don't be fooled. That's performance. That's ego CPR. Because trust me, people always notice when the attention stops. It's human psychology. We don't notice air until it's gone. We don't notice peace until it's disrupted. And we don't notice love until it's withdrawn. You were the supplier. And now you're out of business. So here's where you reclaim your power. You stop donating energy to people who treat it like loose change. You stop handing out validation like coupons. You understand that every text you don't send, every call you don't make, every post you don't watch is a message, a powerful one. It says, I am no longer available to people who only valued me when I was convenient. And maybe you're scared. Maybe you're thinking, but what if they move on? What if they forget me? What if I disappear and they never care? But here's the truth, and you better write it on your soul. The right people never need to be chased, and the wrong ones only care when the benefits stop. So let them move on, let them pretend. That's not your battle anymore. Your battle is within. It's between the old you who begged to be seen and the new you who sees themselves without needing anyone else to. Let me hit you with a truth bomb. The fastest way to make someone notice your value is to stop offering it for free. Read that again and again. Because when you were available, you were taken for granted. When you were always there, your presence lost its weight. But now you're rare. Now you're absent. Now you're unavailable. And nothing makes someone spiral like realizing they no longer have access. So stand firm, don't relapse, don't react, don't give them another drop of that sweet validation they used to drink like water. You're not a faucet, you're a well. And that well is reserved for people who bring more than just thirst to your life. If you're feeling this shift, if you know this truth is crawling into your bones right now, then comment this below. I cut the flow. Let the world see it. Let you see it. Because you're not becoming heartless. You're becoming wise. Stay with me. Because this next part, it's about to get deeper. The world doesn't change when you scream for respect. It changes when you stop giving discounts. You're not running dry. You're running clean. Keep going. You're almost untouchable. Number 4. Indifference is a mirror. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, because when you hate someone, you still care. But indifference, that's when you vanish from their emotional universe. You want to know what really messes with someone's head? It's not your anger, it's not your blocked number, it's not even the heartbreak speech you rehearsed in the mirror. It's your calm. It's when they post and you don't even blink. When they text and you don't reply, not out of bitterness, but because there's nothing left to say. Indifference is the mirror they never wanted to face. Because in your silence, they're forced to confront something most people spend their lives avoiding, themselves. And let me tell you something, folks, some people can't handle their own reflection without your reaction to distract them. Your validation was their emotional makeup. Without it, their mask starts to slip. See, they were ready for your tears. They were ready for your anger. They even had a plan for your little "we need to talk" moment. They built that whole performance on the expectation that you would care enough to break. But then you didn't. You just stepped back, detached. No closure, no rage, no effort to explain. You walked away, not with noise, but with clarity. And that clarity, it cut deeper than any confrontation ever could. You're not punishing them. You're not playing games. You're just no longer available for the performance. And that's what terrifies them. Because you became the one thing they never expected. Unreachable. You stopped feeding their ego. You stopped dancing around their moods. You stopped proving your worth to someone who didn't even know how to recognize it. You know what happens when you take a mirror away from someone who only sees themselves through you? They get lost. They spiral. They project. Because now they have to face the raw, unfiltered version of their own choices without your reactions to soften the blow. That's the power of indifference. And let's be real, this isn't easy. You're not made of stone. You have a heart, and it's felt things. It's cracked. Maybe it's even shattered. You cared. You loved. You gave them everything. Your time, your attention, your forgiveness. So yeah, pulling back feels unnatural. But here's the truth. You weren't created to bleed for people who can't even offer you a bandage. Somewhere along the line, they confused your kindness for weakness, your empathy for naivety, your effort for desperation. And the second you stopped playing that role, the stage collapsed. Because what is a performance with no audience? It's just a person talking to themselves. And that's where they are now, stuck in a one-person show, wondering why the spotlight disappeared. You want to make someone rethink everything? Stop reacting, stop responding, stop reminding them they still matter. Let your absence do the work your words never could. Let your silence wrap around their memories like a storm that never passes. Because every time they hear your name now, it won't be connected to chaos. It'll be a calm they can't access, a peace they can't disturb, a presence they once had and lost. There's a quote I love. You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying there. You've been swimming in the ocean of their chaos for too long, but now you've reached the shore, and you're not turning back. You're not waiting for an apology. You're not chasing clarity. You're not reopening wounds just to hear, "I didn't mean to," because you finally understand that closure isn't a conversation, it's a decision. And that decision? It's echoing in their mind every time they scroll and don't see your name, every time they expect a message and get silence instead, every time they try to trigger a response and realize you're not playing anymore. That's the difference between anger and indifference. Anger is loud, reactive, temporary, but indifference, it lingers, it confuses, it forces reflection. So if you're still wondering whether your silence matters, let me make it plain. It matters more than anything you could say. You're not just gone from their inbox. You're gone from their reach. And people always value what they can't access, especially when they never thought they'd lose it. Right now, your job isn't to be understood. It's to understand yourself, to reclaim your energy, to become so grounded, so centered, so emotionally untouchable that nothing they do shakes your peace. That's not cold, that's evolved. So if this resonated with you, if your silence is finally louder than your pain, then drop it in the comments right now. I choose indifference. Let them hear it. Let them feel it. Let you remember it. You're not being cruel. You're being clear. And what's coming next? It's not revenge. It's rebirth. Stick with me. We're just getting started. Number 5. Not responding isn't revenge. It's resurrection. They thought your silence was payback, but really, it was your rebirth. Let me tell you something that most people don't want to hear. You don't always get closure. Sometimes silence is all you're left with. No apology, no explanation, no clean ending, just silence. But that silence, that stillness, it's not a punishment, it's not a tactic, it's not about making them feel bad, it's about bringing yourself back to life. See, when you stop responding, not out of ego, not out of some plan to make them chase, but because you genuinely have nothing left to say, you're not playing a game. You're stepping into a new version of yourself. The version that doesn't need to explain everything. The version that doesn't chase clarity from people who once thrived on confusing you. The version that knows silence isn't a lack of words, it's the presence of power. They'll misunderstand it at first. They'll assume you're trying to get even, that you're ignoring them to make them suffer, that you're waiting for them to beg. But what they don't know is, you're not sitting there staring at your phone. You're rebuilding, brick by brick, breath by breath. You're rising. You're reconnecting with a self they never really knew, the self you abandoned while trying to prove your worth to them. You're not ignoring them. You've simply outgrown the part of you that needed their response to feel complete. That's what they'll never fully understand. That while they were expecting you to send another long message, pour out your heart, make one more last-ditch effort to explain your side, you were busy evolving. It's like this. Imagine a tree. For months, someone chipped at it, doubted its roots, mocked its slow growth, then walked away. But what they didn't realize is that beneath the soil, it never stopped growing. And when the seasons changed and they turned back around looking for that same weak, fragile stem, they found something else. A solid, unshakable trunk rising from the earth. No announcements, no warnings, just quiet transformation. That's what you're doing. Not reacting, not replying, not performing, resurrecting. And let's be honest, it hurts at first. It burns to hold your tongue. It aches to resist the temptation to explain your side. But that discomfort, That's your old self dying. That's the version of you that needed validation, gasping its last breath. Because here's the raw truth. Every time you respond to someone who dismissed you, you give them permission to keep doing it, and you're done granting that permission. You were never weak for caring. Let's get that clear. You had a heart that showed up when it didn't have to. You gave love that wasn't always returned. You stayed longer than most people would. That's not weakness, that's loyalty. But now it's loyalty to yourself first. Because not responding isn't about proving a point. It's about breaking a pattern. You're not teaching them a lesson. You're teaching yourself a standard. A standard that says, if I have to lose my peace to keep you, I'll choose silence every single time. You don't have to curse them out. You don't have to post subliminals. You don't have to fake happiness on social media just to show you're doing just fine. No, your silence will do all the talking. Because peace doesn't perform. It doesn't seek revenge. It doesn't ask to be seen. It simply is. So stop looking back. Stop wondering if they'll text. Stop checking if they viewed your story. You're not in that chapter anymore. The person who needed their attention is already gone. And the person replacing them, the one you're becoming, they don't even want what you were begging for. That's how far you've come. You're no longer seeking revenge. You're seeking renewal. You're not trying to show them what they lost. You're focused on remembering what you almost forgot. Your own damn worth. And trust me, when they finally realize you're not just being silent, but that your silence means done, that's when it hits them. That's when the fear sets in. Because they always thought there would be one more message, one more chance, one more version of you willing to break yourself to make it work. But this time, you're not broken. You're reborn. So if this is resonating in your bones right now, if you feel that fire rising in your chest, the fire of reclaiming yourself, then I want you to drop it in the comments. I rise in silence. Say it, show it, etch it into your new identity. You're not cold, you're healed, you're not ignoring, you're evolving. And what's coming next? It's not about them anymore. It's about you becoming so whole, so grounded, that no one ever gets to confuse your worth again. Stay with me. The resurrection has just begun. Number 6. Pull back, rise up. The most powerful move you'll ever make isn't chasing them. It's disappearing while becoming everything they swore you couldn't be. They thought you needed them to rise, that without their approval, their presence, their half-baked attention, you'd crumble. They mistook your loyalty for dependence, your silence for confusion, your stillness for weakness. But they forgot something, didn't they? That pressure doesn't break diamonds, it creates them. And now, while they're scrolling, posting, pretending they've won, you're pulling back, quietly, fully. And what they don't realize yet is that your withdrawal is the beginning of your rise. You see, folks, pulling back isn't retreat. It's recalibration. It's realignment. It's where you stop pouring from an empty cup and start building the cup itself. And I know. At first, it feels like loss. It feels like abandonment, like you're giving up. But what you're really doing, you're choosing you. Not because you hate them, but because you finally remembered you don't have to bleed for people who wouldn't even hand you a Band-Aid. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a rocket. For the first few moments, there's noise, flame, resistance, gravity fighting every inch, and then the boosters fall away, the dead weight burns off, and the rocket climbs, fast, quiet, unstoppable. That's what pulling back is. It's the burn before the breakthrough, the tension before the takeoff. They were the gravity holding you down, and now that you've let go, you're not falling, you're ascending. And here's the wild part. The higher you go, the smaller they look. Because distance isn't just physical, it's emotional, energetic, spiritual. The more space you give yourself from the drama, the mind games, the second guessing, the more clarity you gain. You start to see things for what they were, not for what you hoped they could be. You realize you were never too much. You were just surrounded by people who were too little to hold you. But this is where it gets tricky. Because right now, part of you still wants to be seen, still wants them to notice, still wants to prove that walking away wasn't weakness, that you didn't lose, you outgrew. And that part of you? It's human. It's okay. But let me speak to the higher part of you, the one that doesn't need to be understood anymore. The one that knows the truth doesn't need defense. It just needs time. You want them to regret it? Don't post about it. Don't text them. Don't try to spark a reaction. Just rise, quietly, deliberately, without performance, without theatrics. Because nothing creates curiosity like calm, nothing haunts the ego like stillness, and nothing flips the power dynamic faster than realizing the person who once begged for your time has now gone completely still, and they don't know what you're thinking, what you're doing, or who you're becoming. They'll start checking your profile more, looking at your old messages, asking mutual friends about you, but they won't reach out, not yet. Because they're trying to decode the silence, trying to make sense of the calm storm you've become. Because when you were chasing, you were predictable. But now, you're a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. This is where you shift from reactive to reflective, from needing answers to being the answer. You stop searching, scrolling, comparing. You stop living through their eyes and start seeing yourself again. You stop proving and start becoming. You start choosing your peace over their validation. And trust me, while they're watching for signs of your collapse, you'll be out here building, not to show them, not to spite them, but because you've got better things to do than bleed for people who were allergic to effort. Your pullback isn't petty, it's purposeful, it's sacred. So if you're sitting there wondering if it's too late to pull back, let me tell you this. It's never too late to take your energy home. It's never too late to stop being a source of light for people who only showed up when it was convenient. It's never too late to stop being predictable in someone else's story and start becoming powerful in your own. This is the moment, the shift, the ignition point. Pull back, rise up. Not to make noise, but to make space. Space for your glow up. Space for your rebirth, space for people who don't just want your energy, but want to match it. And if this hit home, if you feel that quiet fire stirring in your chest right now, then type this in the comments. I rise in silence. Let them see it. Let you see it. Because the old version of you that overextended, overexplained, overstayed, they're gone. What's coming next? They won't be ready for it, but you will. Stay with me. The altitude's only going up from here. Number 7. Become unreachable, not to hurt, but to heal. The deadliest move isn't blocking them, it's becoming someone they can no longer access, even if they tried. Let's clear something up right now. Going ghost isn't about playing games. It's not about causing pain. It's not about making them beg, panic, or chase. It's about liberation. It's about choosing distance, not because you want to hurt them, but because staying close was slowly killing you. You're not disappearing to punish them. You're disappearing to find yourself. And in a world where everyone's constantly online, constantly visible, constantly performing for likes, your absence becomes more powerful than anything you could ever post. Think about it. We live in an age where presence is currency. Stories, texts, timestamps, last seen. Everyone is addicted to being noticed. So when you suddenly stop showing up, when your screen goes dark, when your name no longer pops up on their feed, it's not silence, it's a statement. And the statement is loud. You no longer have access to the version of me that tolerated that. That's where the power is, not in blocking them, not in clapping back, not in sending one last message to prove you've moved on. No, the real flex is to heal in places they can't follow. You were once their emotional vending machine. They pressed a button, anger, distance, silence, and you responded. You'd chase, you'd explain, you'd fight to be understood. But not anymore. Now you're still. You're silent. You've stepped outside their reach, and trust me, nothing destroys ego faster than the realization that they can't touch you anymore. At first, they won't believe it. They'll assume you're pretending, that you'll cave, that this is temporary, but days go by, then weeks, and suddenly that predictable version of you is gone. And what takes its place? A question, a void, a confusion that creeps into their mind like fog. What if I really lost them? That's what happens when you become unreachable. Not because you blocked them, but because you outgrew the game. Let me put it like this. Imagine you used to be a door they kept walking through, open whenever they felt like it. Come in, take what they wanted, leave. No consequences, no change. But now, that door is sealed, not slammed, not locked with rage, just quietly no longer there. And they're left standing in a hallway, knocking on something that no longer exists. That's not revenge. That's healing. You've done the work. You've faced the nights with no replies. You've sat in the pain they never stayed long enough to witness. And now you're doing something they never expected. You're healing without needing them to see it. That's why you're not posting for attention. That's why you're not trying to make them jealous. That's why you're not sending mixed signals. Because this isn't a performance. It's a process. And real healing doesn't announce itself with flashing lights. It happens quietly, in the shadows, in the gym, in your journal, in the mirror at 2 a.m. when you finally realize, damn, I'm okay now. They'll feel it. Oh, they'll feel it when you stop showing up, when your name isn't there, when you don't take the bait, when your silence isn't cold, it's calm, it's sacred, and they'll keep trying to figure it out. Keep checking. Keep waiting for that old pattern to reappear. But the pattern is gone. You see, you didn't leave to create chaos. You left to create peace. For yourself, for your future. Because being reachable, emotionally available, endlessly accessible, it drained you. It kept you in cycles that never served you. And now, you're done. You're not here to prove a point. You're here to protect your energy. You're here to become a version of yourself that doesn't even remember what it felt like to beg for crumbs from people who couldn't even match your effort. That's the beauty of going quiet, of disappearing from their world. You didn't burn the bridge, you just stopped crossing it. And if they ever turn around looking for the old you, they'll find space, they'll find silence, they'll find a healed version of you who doesn't need them to apologize, doesn't need closure, doesn't need validation, because you're already free. So if this is hitting you deep, if you're finally stepping into that phase where your peace matters more than their presence, then drop this in the comments right now. I am unreachable. Say it, show it, own it. Because you're not walking away to be cruel. You're walking away because staying kept you small. You're not hiding, you're healing. And what's coming next? They won't be able to follow.